Well, tough result today. Obviously not what you were looking for. Cade, maybe we'll start with you. I mean, can you kind of take us through what you saw out there and what you can take from this game?
We obviously started off really well. Played really well, played good defense, still gave up a lot of offensive rebounds, but we were getting out in transition and scoring the ball out there. So we started off really well. Earlier on in the second half, I think, we just had too many lapses on defense, things like that. They just kept chipping away at it. And, kudos to them. They're a good basketball team. They kept fighting. They came out with it.
Ice, you've been in a lot of Big 12 battles now in your career, and you've seen, experienced results on both sides. Do you have kind of any message to your teammates after a result like this?
We're a couple games in right now. We've been through a lot of different situations. So, there's no excuse. We just got to go out there and finish that game. There's nothing you can tell. There's not too much hand-holding you can do on this game. We was up 19 with 11 minutes left. That game had to be sealed and done by us. But, credit to West Virginia, they kept chipping away. But there's no way we should have gave up that game.
Members of the media, if you have a question for Isaac Likekele or Cade Cunningham, please click raise hand and we will try and get to you. Our first question is going to come from Jacob Unruh from the Oklahoman. Jacob, we just ask that you please address the question to whoever it is that you're looking for. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, Cade, I want to ask, after the TCU game and then this game, kind of what lessons do you take from this?
I think the biggest thing is, you have to value every possession. Every possession, something might happen, and then, you don't feel the consequences from it until later on down the road. So, like I said, we had a couple lapses earlier on in our 19-point lead. From there, we were just downhill. So, I think the biggest thing is you have to value every possession, play hard throughout the whole game. 40 minutes is what it takes to win. So, the Big 12 is not going to be easy, and every team's going to come to fight. So, you got to fight all 40 minutes.
For you, it's the second straight game fouled out. Is there something different you can do defensively?
I think I'm playing well defensively. They gave me 5 fouls.
Ice, this game can be another crushing defeat if and let it fester if you're not careful. How do you keep these guys from letting this kind of keep building and hanging around?
I don't feel like anybody keep their head down. Even after this game, I think we're the best team in America. Definitely credit to every team out there. But I know personally, I'll never lose my confidence as long as, your leaders don't lose their confidence. It'll always pass down to the rest of the team. So as long as, the guys that's leading this locker room, as long as we keep our heads up and keep coming in working, the guys behind us don't follow. So I don't see anybody hanging their head down after this.
Thanks, guys.
Our next question is going to come from Ethan Bach of the Daily Athenaeum of West Virginia. Go ahead, Ethan.
Hi, I just have one question for Cade. This is your 4th Big 12 game. You're starting to get in the swing of things. How much have you learned about the defense and toughness in this conference compared to the other levels you've played?
Every defense is going to, really be locked in. They're going to help each other. And everybody's going to guard the ball. They're going to try to keep the ball in front. So, there's a lot of really high-end coaches in this Big 12. That's the reason why I chose to play in it, because I knew every game was going to be a battle. I knew every game I was going to get better. So, we should have came out with this win, but we'll get better for sure.
Our next question comes from Ryan Breeden from the Ocala. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Ice, you guys were without MA tonight, and so obviously West Virginia's got some size. They've got some athletic dudes, some size, and the offensive rebounding for West Virginia was a little bit problematic, and Derek Culver had 19 rebounds. So I was just curious, how big of a factor was the rebounding department in today's outcome?
We got plenty of depth. MA does bring a lot to the team, but we got plenty of depth. We just got to shut down the glass. Culver, he was having his way on the glass second half, and pretty much first half, he just went out there and punked us pretty much. I feel as if we didn't do a good job on him. there's not too much to say about it. What you've seen is what happened.
Thanks.
Our next question is going to come from Marshall Scott of Pistols Firing. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Ice, you've been a part of a couple of these slow starts that you guys have had in Big 12 play, but it seems like whenever you get going, whenever you get your first couple of wins under you, guys start to roll a little bit. Do you feel like you're close, or is it just completely different dynamics with this new team?
Credit to my past two teams in the past 2 years. The past 2 years, games that we were losing at the beginning of games, we were fighting back the whole time. Each game was fighting back. We'll go down 15, have to fight back, down 14, fight back. It's kind of the opposite. It's kind of the opposite here. First game against TCU, we up 8. They fought back, beat us. At Texas, we up at half. They fought back, beat us. Here tonight, they fought back, beat us. It's different things every night. It's different things than what was going on in the past. So, I've never been on the other side of being a better team every game and just having sustained the win. I've always been the one fighting uphill. So it's kind of different for me a little bit too. But we'll figure out how to finish these games. It's very important that we do. And we got to get figured out fast.
Thanks, guys.
Our next question comes from Matt Hubbard of Pokes Report. Go ahead, Matt.
Nice. Before the break, Coach Boynton said he wanted to get the ball in your hands more. And, tonight you had a career night. What clicked for you?
Honestly, I'm just going out there and just playing. I'm doing less thinking and I'm just playing. I'm going off first instinct, and these guys, they telling me that they need me to be playing at my best for us to be our best. So I'm just trying to go in and get them that every day. So whatever I can do for our team, I'm going to try to.
All right. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Our next question is going to come from Jacob Unruh of the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Cade, you were matched up with Culver a lot tonight. What was that matchup kind of like, and what do you kind of take from going up against a bigger guy like that?
He's a really good player. You can see that what he did tonight, but I'm not gonna shy away from any matchup. That's what coach wanted me to guard. I think I'm built to guard anybody. So, he had a good night. We gotta learn from it and try to shut that down next game.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and our final question for the players is going to come from Barry Trammell of the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Cade, you guys had the 19-point lead, but after you took the 19-point lead, I think you had 5 turnovers as a team over 7 possessions. Before that, and really after that, you took fairly good care of the ball. What happened in that stretch where you sort of got loose with the ball and let them get on the streak?
I think we just, got too comfortable, really. You have to respect the game. I think that's something that we kind of lost sight of. If you don't play the right way, it's going to come back to haunt you. So, we didn't do that. Like you said, we had too many turnovers in a row. It came back to haunt us later on. So, that's definitely something that we'll take a look at and, emphasize more in practice and things to take care of the ball. And it starts with me. I have 5. Being a primary ball and being ice, it starts with us.
All right, well, that'll do it for our questions. But before we let you guys go, is there any messages that you want to make sure get out there while we have everyone together? Things that you would want people to know about this team or this game, what's important to you?
I'm good.
We'll be back.
Appreciate y'all, though.
We'll be back.
All right, appreciate you guys. Have a good night. Coach, are you able to reach the screen to unmute? All right, Coach, can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
All right, obviously tough result today. What was your message to the team?
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? But tonight was a night for sure, right? Should have won the game. There's no two ways about it. Played well enough for 32 minutes and to be clearly the better team tonight. But I hope the one thing our guys take away from it is you got to finish. It's a 40-minute game. You got to continue to do the things that got you the lead. You can't play differently. You got to understand that as hard as it is to win, teams don't just lay down no matter what. And, you know, West Virginia, to their credit, continued to fight. They kept chipping away. And, you know, they came out of here with a win.
Members of the media, if you have a question for Oklahoma State coach Mike Boynton, please click raise hand and we'll try and get to everybody. Our first question is going to come from Jacob Unruh from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, this is the second time you guys have lost the lead in the second half of the Big 12 game. Is there something that changes? Is there something you can pinpoint? Do you know yet or what?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly something that changes, right? We didn't play with the same sort of sharpness, aggressiveness. The team's also pretty good now. I mean, so I think sometimes we forget we're playing really high-level competition, and when you do that, your margin usually is at 19. And I'm not sure we figured out how to play with a lead and handle that type of prosperity in game. You know, there was a point in the game that I remember feeling like our focus was waning. Try to remind our guys that that's a really good team on the other end of the court, and didn't quite register it. And obviously, it's a great advantage.
How do you get that message across moving forward, do you think?
Well, you got to show it to them. You know, it's one thing for me to tell them. I'm soon to be 39. I've lived through it. I've played in games like this before. I've coached in games like this before. But until you do it yourself, you don't realize how real it is. And right, until the finality of the game being over and you lose hits, it doesn't seem like it's possible. And then it's over and you've lost. And that's where our guys are. I sense a lot of frustration and disappointment, but a little bit of shock from our guys in the locker room because, and again, this isn't putting anything on our youth, but there are many guys in the locker room that have never lost a 19-point lead before. You have 19 and the game's over and you kind of coast and you just kind of, you know, and in the Big 12, no. We just watched this same team be down 18 in Norman Saturday and came back and had the ball in the tie game. So, yeah, I think we just got to show it to them, talk about how to stop it. And, you know, that's on me and my staff to make sure that happens the next time.
And a little bit different topic. Cade's fouled out twice in a row. You had other foul issues too. How do you kind of get those guys to hone that in?
The West Virginia game historically is always a pretty high foul game, just the nature of how they play. And it's not like we have a plethora of bigs in there to throw at what they have. And they just are relentless on the offensive glass. So, you know, this one is hard to kind of point to in that regard. If it happens in another game different than this one, maybe I can see some sort of trend. But this game is so different. It's hard for me to really to say that it's a problem because they're the only team in our league who plays like this. They just wear you down over the course of the game. And we had, 2 guys foul out and another with 4. So it's, you know, I've coached against West Virginia enough now to know that that happens a lot.
Thanks, Mike.
Our next question comes from Frank Bonner of the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mike, West Virginia had 22 offensive rebounds. How much did not having MA kind of play a factor in not being able to limit some of that?
Well, you know, he's obviously one of our bigger guys. He's one of our better rebounders. He's athletic enough, even though he's a little undersized, to go in there and play above the rim and be able to clean up the glass. So it was a factor. But nobody's got time for excuses in this league. We should have won the game. We put ourselves in position. We just didn't finish. We got to be better finishers.
And then when we talked to Cade, he said, you know, one of the things he thought about when you guys had that 19-point lead, he felt you guys got a little bit too comfortable. How much do you think Isaac will play a role in that locker room from a player's perspective after a loss like this, where you did have a 19-point lead?
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy, right? He's the guy who's been through it. He's played in these games. He knows that one thing is going to happen in our next game. This one won't have any bearing on it, right? But if we put ourselves in this position again, can we respond better? And certainly he'll be the guy that delivers that message inside the locker room, and it's on our staff to make sure that we put our kids in position to continue to have success.
Thank you, Mike.
Our next question comes from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned you felt there was a time in the second half when their focus was waning. Was that more on offense or defense? The reason I asked, 19-point lead, as soon as you took it, 5 of your next 7 possessions ended with a turnover. Didn't even get a shot. Can sometimes you lose focus on the offensive end as much as the defensive end?
Oh, yeah, it happened. Usually one leads to the other. A lot of times turnovers leads to bad defense or poor shot selection leads to easier baskets for the other team. And then what happens with the other team is they start to feel a little bit more confident, right? And so their confidence is building in terms of they look up the clock and it's, okay, it's just a 12-point game now with 8 minutes to go, whatever the case is. I don't know the exact numbers, but it happens both ways, and it happens on both ends of the court simultaneously. What we need to do is figure out, all right, who's going to get this group together and say, right now, we need to stop. Right now, we got to get ourselves in position to get a great shot. No turnovers. Let's get the ball to the field, get ourselves to the free throw line, make sure we make our free throws. And that's what we're going to get better.
Our next question comes from Marshall Scott from Pistols Firing. Go ahead, Marshall. Marshall, we're going to come back to you, but let's go ahead and move on to Ryan Breeden from the O'Colly. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Mike, to go back a little bit to asking earlier with the offensive rebounds, obviously 22 of them, and just forgetting any of the individual aspects of that, but just looking at that impact on the game as a whole, how important and how impactful was the number of 22 offensive rebounds for West Virginia?
Well, the truth is, I think we're up 10 at half, and they had 16 offensive rebounds then. If we do half, a little bit of a better job there, and let's say they get 8, they got 6 in the second half. Let's say they get 8 in the first half. Maybe we're up 15 or 16 then and got a chance to early in the second half extend that lead to into the 20s, and you're looking at a different ballgame. So the cumulative effect of it, they set a tone in the first half, and they kept themselves relatively close by just getting second chance points. I think they had 15 of them maybe in the first half, and that really just kept them afloat, kept them alive. And we did a better job in the second half, but our offense wasn't as sharp, and they did a better job of kind of running better offense themselves. McBride was much more aggressive and got them some easier baskets.
And what can you say about Derek Culver's performance for West Virginia with his 22 points and 19 rebounds? Obviously had the double-double in the first half. What can you just say about what he did against you guys?
He's a terrific player. I remember Derek Culver's first, I think he's probably averaging 20 rebounds a game in Gallagher Arena. I think his first game here, he had 20 rebounds. And I've coached now 17 years. I've only seen that happen 3 times, and he's done it twice. So really impressive. It's hard to do. It just goes to show you how relentless, how aggressive, how physical he is. And we didn't have an answer for him.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to try and go back here to Marshall Scott from Pistols Firing. Go ahead, Marshall.
Sorry, I closed a lot of tabs. You kind of had a nice little battle of small ball versus the more traditional play. You've kind of touched around this a little bit, but kind of how did you like that matchup? Sometimes if you take a big off the floor, then they'd have to take Culver off the floor because he couldn't guard one of your guards. So just how did you kind of like the ebbs and flows of that matchup?
I felt good about it. We did a lot of good things. I got to try to find it in my emotion right now because I'm hurting for my kids that we lost. We also played a top 15 team who was really good, got a Hall of Fame coach, and we were good enough to get a 19-point lead. Now, can we be good enough to finish this game? That's going to be the next step for this group. Can we finish the game? Because if you finish this game, you can elevate yourself to the upper tier of our conference, which means that we're a really damn good team. I believe we have a really good team. But, you know, to your question, I thought the ebbs and the flows of it was just kind of what coaching is, right? You try to take advantage of what you do well and put the other team in a position to have to make adjustments. But at the end of the day, they wore us down on the glass, and Culver was, you know, really unstoppable for them.
Is there any anticipation on when you'll have MA back?
No, you know, just to kind of little backstory, he actually got hurt a little bit in practice before the Tech game. And so even when we had guys foul out, he did come back in late in that game. He gave it a go in practice again yesterday and in shoot around and just didn't feel comfortable. We don't think it's anything structural, but we did some preliminary x-rays to make sure. And so I'm sure I'll get a report tomorrow morning and have more information next time I talk to you guys.
Having this Monday game, you obviously have a big break between your next game. Do you like that they're going to have time to kind of stew on this, that they're going to have time to kind of bubble up, kind of like what you had with the long break for Christmas?
Yeah, it's different. You know, the game is so different. And we felt like we could have won at Texas, right? We put ourselves in position late. We should have won the game tonight. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I didn't mince words with our team. You get a 19-point lead in league play at home. You got to do enough to finish the game. And you win by 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't matter. You got to win. And disappointing. I'm sure they're hurting. So it's a little bit different in that regard. But there's a lot of opportunity for us to learn. And the one thing that I always say about this league, I have a pretty short memory. When we get up to Manhattan on Saturday, we won't get any credit for playing well for 32 minutes a night, but we also won't be down 3 to start the game. And so it'll be a different kind of game. We'll have to be ready to play a different style of basketball versus them. They may be as physical as West Virginia is. K-State may be the most physical team in the conference. And we've got to be ready to match that and have a plan of attack that puts us in position to win.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll do it for questions, but Coach, before we let you go, anything important that you wanted to say, any messages that you want to make sure got out there that maybe we missed while we still have everyone here?
No, I just, you know, again, I always want to be thankful to our fans. They were terrific. I want to apologize for them. This is a game that, you know, for 2 reasons, right? We should have won. Our kids played well enough for 32 minutes to win. And I know if we can get this building full, they can put this team over the hump. It's an unfortunate situation of this season, but I certainly want them to know their impact is great. We missed the fact that we don't have a full arena, but I appreciate all that are coming out, and I ask that they continue to support these young guys, and we'll get them right. So come on out as often as you can, bring a friend, and go Pokes.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Thanks.
Members of the media, thank you as well.